All right, let's call the meeting to order at 7:05 on November 8th, 2017, I believe.
Good job.
Let's do a roll call. Just say your names. Richard Riley, present.
John Regan, present.
John Devereaux here.
Al Gilbo present.
Eric Cushing, present.
All right, so we do have a case to hear this evening. It's case number 2017-05. Name of the applicant is SDS Realty, owner of the property Colby Litchfield LLC. Care of Richard J. Maloney and Company. Location of property 476 Charles Bancroft Highway, map 20, lot 21, with portions of the property also on tax map 21, lot 1, and map 22, lot 96. The variance being requested, there's two of them. Request a variance from 801.00, which is use to allow warehouse and distribution facility where a warehouse is not allowed, and second variance from LZO section 802.02, which is for the building height. They're looking to allow up to 48 feet building height where 35 feet is allowed. So we've got 4 regular members and 2 alternates. I need one of you guys willing to stay, or if you want to stay the whole time, but since you're here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and appoint him to the board this evening.
Greg, if you want.
Okay, so I guess if you're ready to proceed, you're familiar with how these things work.
I am.
Go ahead and start presenting your
Great.
response to the criteria for the variance. Want to start with the use?
Sure. Do you want me to give,
I
usually
think
give,
we've done this before, and basically we just go through the 5 criteria for the use.
okay,
We'll deliberate, after you've done everything, close public input, we'll deliberate on that.
Mhm.
We'll vote on that,
okay,
and then you decide if you want to move forward from there.
okay,
The second one.
okay. Usually I kind of give a summary of the project first before I
That's
actually.
terrific. Yeah,
That's okay.
absolutely, please.
All right, great.
Yeah.
All right, great. My name is Brian Pratt. I'm with CLD Fuss and O'Neill, and I'm here on behalf of SDS Realty. They are the realty company that's trying to help the warehouse distribution facility go to the site. So it's a 36,000 square foot warehouse and distribution facility. It's LKQ Corporation and Keystone Automotive. So what they are is a distributor of RV and car parts for aftermarket and refurbished and used parts. So this is the property here. This is 476 Charles Bancroft Highway, and it's the property that's directly behind New England Small Tube and right next to Mel's Funway. So New England Small Tube is out in front, and Mel's Funway is at the back. On the kind of the north west side of the property, it's bound by the Merrimack River, and the Charles Bancroft Highway is where we get our access from on the bottom of the page there. The property's not quite large enough, so we're planning to do a lot line adjustment to take a couple of acres from the abutting property. And we actually had a full plan designed on this property previously for a construction company. We came in front of this board for a special exception for wetlands impact. And then we did get planning board approval, but it turns out that there's some off-site utility improvements that they just couldn't afford, so they ended up abandoning. I was approached by SDS Realty, and they were trying to find a site in the area, and I thought this might be a good site. Their facility is 36,000 square feet. It's similarly sized to the Erickson construction facility that we had planned here. The next page is here. This is just a kind of the existing conditions plan. So this is Charles Bancroft Highway, Mel's Funway over here, River's up here. And so this is the property. Colby Brook runs and bounds on the kind of the western side of the property, and then this is a big open field. I believe it's been used for hay or something. And then there's a steep embankment down the Merrimack River, so it sits quite a bit higher than the river. This dashed line is the current property line, and this would be the adjusted lot line that takes the additional, I think it's about 3 acres. This next page is just the lot line adjustment plan, provided so you can see the boundary of the property with the balance and surveyor stamp. So this is the concept plan for the facility. And like I said, that's the 36,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility. This whole side will be loading docks. So it'll be 4-foot loading docks. This is tractor trailer parking. And then this is vehicle parking for employees and for like their delivery vehicles. The red line on here is the outline of the pavement that we had on the previously approved plan. So you can see it's very similar, very similarly sized to the old footprint. We did get all our permits from DES. We got our shoreline protection permit. We got our wetland crossing permit for wetland here. We got the alteration of terrain permit, which is the stormwater. We have stormwater infiltration ponds here. It's really sandy soil, so we just collected everything and infiltrated it.
How long ago was that construction project approved by the planning board?
Less than a year.
So if there were wetlands involved, were you in front of the zoning board first and then the
Yeah.
planning board?
Yep. Yeah, we just had a special exception.
Trying to remember what that was.
It was, I don't remember the month, but it was last year. It was
Erickson?
2016. Yeah, it was Erickson.
Erickson Construction, huh?
The curb cut and everything got approved by the town? That's by the state, right?
It's a DOT road, yeah. So we did get some comments back. Very minor comments. Basically, there's just some signs out there that they want us to relocate, but they basically gave us conditional approval. We never did make those changes because Erickson withdrew and we stopped all work at that point. But we
You can stay with the standard 24-foot wide road?
yeah, exactly. And then there's kind of wider radii to let the trucks get in. We might have to widen those a little bit more because they have slightly bigger trucks here than Erickson did.
Okay.
So the yellow area is the loading area, you said?
That's the whole building. The loading is all.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
makes sense now.
So if you look at the next sheet, this is kind of the standard footprint. It shows, they have some lobby and offices and whatnot. This will end up swapping over to match the configuration of the lot. But this is the back elevation, so this is all those 20 loading docks, some dumpsters and whatnot, and then some at-grade doors as well. And then this is kind of the office side, so that's the side that you'll see it rather than look at it. So what they do is they are one of the largest auto and RV part distributors in U.S. and Canada. They do refurbished, used, and aftermarket parts. They do have a location in Manchester, but they have locations all over the country. They're nationwide. So this is just an expansion. They're not moving. They just need more distribution. So what it is they get about 20 tractor trailers a day, and that's receiving the full-size tractor trailers from the distribution centers all across the country. Those come in 24 hours a day. They'll get there whenever they get there, whenever their route allows. So they're kind of spread out throughout the day. Most of it will be during the day, but there may be some overnight. And then they said that they have about 20 to 40 smaller trucks, box trucks, parts trucks type thing that distribute to mechanics and retail shops and that. So they'll distribute as needed. As they get the calls, they pick up the part and they deliver it. So again, the truck traffic is all going to be kind of spread out throughout the day. Those deliveries will be during business hours. We have 80 parking spaces for vehicles, but those are for employees and their delivery vehicles. So they don't have 80 employees. They have quite a bit less than that. But they will have shifts, and they'll have kind of a skeleton crew overnight restocking and unloading trucks and whatnot. No outdoor storage. Everything will be stored inside, but they do have the trailer parking, so they will park trailers outside as needed. So this property is zoned northern commercial. So warehousing and distribution isn't an allowed use in this zone. But this exhibit here shows kind of what's in the area. So new and small tube, I know that was a retail plaza when it was first developed, but that was replaced with new and small tube, which is more of a industrial type use. Across the street, there's a distribution facility here. I forget what the actual use is there. And then I know Optimum Building System is located right across from our driveway. And then there's a landscape contractor right over there. I believe Optimum was here either last month or September for a use variance as well for a warehouse on their property. And I believe that was granted. So, like I said, we need two variances. One is for the use because, industrial and warehousing isn't allowed in this zone. The other is for building height. So they need 30 feet of clear space within the 30 feet or 40 feet?
Oh, you're talking about the height?
40 feet. Yeah, they need 40 feet of clear space inside because they use racking storage. So they need the racks to go up to 40 feet clear. And then, with the trusses and the angle of the roof and the loading docks where, it may be as high as 48 on one side, on the loading dock side, it might be shorter on the other. But, if they can flip the roof the other way, it might be short. It'll probably be shorter than 48, but.
But you guys are seeking up to 48.
Yeah, because we don't have the exact design, so.
Essentially a 13-foot variance, gets you from 35 to 48.
Right. So in other zones, you're allowed to go to 56 feet, in like the industrial zones in the town.
Yeah, which one is that?
I think there's two.
Did the fire department have anything to say about that?
Kevin said to hold off on contacting them yet, but I assume that because they had, they have buildings up to 56 feet in the town that, it's more like this is geared towards retail, so they don't want retail, super tall retail buildings, where we're industrial use. The other thing to consider is we're actually 600 feet back from Charles Bancroft Highway, and the site actually is almost 20 feet, sits lower than Charles Bancroft Highway by about 20 feet. We're surrounded by woods on all sides, and a good buffer, a good screen to all the other abutting properties.
Stuff now. That's if you want to. That I think is all applicable. Well, maybe it's applicable to both, but okay.
Okay.
I was thinking you were speaking towards the height, but now that I think about it, I guess all that same.
Kind of both, yeah.
All that stuff is all really applicable to both.
Exactly, yeah. And that's kind of how I. No, I did do them separately, I think. Yeah. So I think unless if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer, or I can just go jump right into the 5 criteria if you'd like.
I'm just, so this is or isn't part of the Northern Commercial Industrial Service?
It's in Northern Commercial.
Northern Commercial, not Northern Commercial Industrial.
Correct.
There's a difference.
Yeah, that's that. I think one that is 50 foot, and the other is 35.
Right.
So this is, in this area, it's for banks and
Retail.
general retail, restaurants, professional offices, healthcare, personal services, hotels, motels, indoor theaters, etc.
Yeah, because the site sits so far back from the road, you're never going to get anything retail. You can't see it from the street. So it's really kind of ideal for an industrial use, somebody that you don't really want to see. They're just kind of tucked in the back. So we think it's an ideal property for this use, and we hope that you guys agree. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Go on.
Okay, so I'll go through the 5 criteria right now.
Please.
Okay. 1, the variance will not be contrary to public interest because the proposal is to allow a warehousing distribution facility to the property. The property is zoned Northern Commercial, and this specific use is not allowed in the zone. The building and its proposed use will be well screened from the general public. Access will be off the Charles Bancroft Highway, which sits about 15 to 20 feet above the building pad location. The building will be set back over 600 feet from the Charles Bancroft Highway, and there are many trees and the abutting building that further screen the building from the public view. Additionally, there are several similar uses located on directly abutting properties to the east. New England Small Tube, and to the south, Michaud Distributors. I don't know if that's still, I looked at the Google Street View to get the name, and I think
Which one?
is that Michaud Distributors, the distribution facility right over here?
Oh,
Used to be a bread facility.
yeah.
Used to be a lawn dog too.
Yeah, I don't know if
Used
they
to
do
be
bread
some
out there
back in the
anymore.
day.
Yeah, I don't think so. They left.
Yeah, they do, it's a, lawn dog and someone else now, yeah.
It's now becoming True Green.
True Green?
2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the property will be designed to meet other aspects of the zoning ordinance and town site plan regulations, except for building height, and will be designed to meet the state of New Hampshire stormwater quality standards. The ordinance is geared towards retail, but retail you have to be close to the road, so this unique situation where the property is dog-legged and it has the bulk of it in the back wouldn't be suited for retail. Substantial justice is done because the property is located with direct access from a highway and is naturally screened from public view, given the woods and change in elevation. As such, this site is well suited for this type of use because similar uses surround it. A commercial use would not be suited for this property due to its distance set back from the Charles Bancroft Highway. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished because the values of surrounding properties would be enhanced by the proposed use as is cohesive to the current properties surrounding it. Additionally, the property would be developed to meet town standards, complete with proper landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management. The property sits lower than the New England Small Tube, and it's a similar use. The property will be screened from most of the surrounding properties and the river. And 5. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general purpose of this ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. The NC zone is for commercial/retail uses. However, due to the distance the property is set back from the road, a commercial use is not well suited for this property. Based on most of the surrounding uses being used for similar facilities and the distance set back from the main road, the buffers to the neighbors and the river, we feel that this is a perfect use for the property. And the property use is a reasonable one. The warehouse and distribution facility is a reasonable use of the property given its accessibility to the highway, lot size, surrounding properties with the same or similar use, and its distance setback from the highway. So I think that's all I had for the 5 criteria. Did you say you were going to go through that one
Pause
before?
there for a moment.
Sounds good.
You- 80 delivery vehicles, you said, were the tractor trailers coming into the facility.
They receive about 20 tractor trailers a day.
20 tractor
That's
trailers.
the
And they've got, you said 40 or so
20 to 40
small box trucks
being,
distributing what was delivered that evening.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It sounds like a pretty
Well,
busy place, right?
It's 24 hours a day, though. So you said these trucks could be coming in 24 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, they might receive, like you said, one delivery truck an hour may come in.
I'm assuming they're really going to be coming from up by the airport.
We
as
expect they'd all
opposed
come
to-
from the highway, yep. Exactly. And then, most of the deliveries would be to retailers and whatnot. So I think almost all the deliveries coming out would all take a left out of the property and head towards,
Most. And the deliveries going out are smaller
Yeah.
vans? Is that what
Yeah,
you
these
said?
are like box trucks.
And is that what's parked on the property, the smaller ones or the tractor trailers or both?
Both. Yep. So the 80 parking spaces, those are for their employee parking and their small delivery trucks. And then the 20 tractor trailer spaces are, for the tractor trailers that get there at night. Maybe they can sleep there, or maybe they have to store stuff there for a day or something.
Does that mean they'd be running those engines all night if they're sleeping there?
I don't believe so. He said there's no excessive noise. He said all the noise generating equipment is inside, so nothing's refrigerated. So I wouldn't expect that they would.
Wouldn't be that much noisier than Spooky World.
But if you're sleeping on if you're talking about a sleeper, they do run those trucks all the
Yeah,
time.
they leave them running.
Interesting.
And if there's questions I can't answer, the realtor, his office is in Washington. I can give him a call if if you need me to elaborate
So
on.
they're not doing any fueling then on the site?
There's no fuels on site, no underground tanks or anything. They do have a small amount of, like paints and like little individually sealed containers that they sell, but there's no large tanks or anything.
Yeah. Touch up paint, so.
Exactly. Yeah, that was one of my concerns with the proximity to the river, is I wanted to make sure that they didn't have, underground fuel tanks or anything.
Any questions? Other
I
questions?
mean, I'm seeing this as the tip of the iceberg for this whole area. As being
Could be.
a precedent-setting. Granted, we don't have a lot of people banging on our doors to put in,
Mm.
banks here.
Litchfield Town Bank.
But, this is the front end. The rest of this is in wide open for the same.
Yep.
All the way up to where it would become the commercial industrial zone.
Could be.
That's it?
Oh, what, are you looking at the list of abutters? Oh, I can give you the whole application if you want. Okay. Anybody else? I'll open it up to public.
Yeah.
So at this point, do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak about this particular application? With respect to the use, the warehouse facility? No?
Just hit a list.
Plans, public, and we can look at it. And one of the property butters.
Yeah, you're welcome to come right on up and look, please. State your name if you wouldn't mind, please, and your address.
Sure. Name's Bill Luquette, live at 494 Carlos Bancroft.
Okay. You got that?
Is that one of
Do
the
you need
residences
spelling,
up
or-
on the top end here?
Spelling on the last name, please?
Luquette.
Thank you. Well, glad you showed up. Certainly, if you got any questions, now's the time to ask, although I don't know if you're familiar with the way the zoning board works, but basically what we do, right now, we're opening up the public. So you have the right to ask questions, look at anything you want to look at. It's all public information here. Ask us, ask the applicant questions. What we'll do, once we've heard everything, we will close public input. We will deliberate here in public in front of everybody, and then we'll take a vote. And they're looking for either 3 yeses or noes. It's a majority here, 3 out of 5. And what happens is, once the decision's made, anyone has the right to appeal that decision, as long as they file the proper paperwork within 30 days of the decision being made. So that's the way, at a high level, how it works. There are some New Hampshire statutes that you can read up on if you want to know the technicalities, especially if you're going to file an appeal. No other questions, it looks like.
So this is the time that you would ask.
Yeah, I'll
express
give you a minute.
concerns and stuff.
Go ahead and look.
So the reason why we would have gotten a notice, I guess, is because this piece of property is getting, the lot lines have changed.
Exactly.
Because we're right here,
Right there, yeah.
so because this property is being affected, that's why we're.
Yep.
You're
Yeah, I
on
had
the-
to send the notice out
Can you
to.
show us where he is, just curious?
He is right in one of these down here.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the reason, so we over-notified, so we notified the abutters for both properties, because there's a lot line adjustment associated, so.
So you're one of the residents that might be affected by 24-hour trucks coming back and forth from Manchester.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm concerned for that.
Do you know, and I don't know, I'm not sure how much it matters, but who owns this property? And what are the plans for?
Where he's got to get the extra land from, you mean?
Well, yeah, I'm sure but I mean, this whole tract, I guess up to St. Francis's and beyond. I'm not really sure where the northern industrial demarcation is.
Do I have it?
We have, here it is up here, but I don't have the,
I think that's an old one though, isn't it? Or is that new?
well, it's the color looks faded, but
Hey,
2015.
John,
Oh,
Can you read again what the uses of that?
Yeah, sure.
Which are
So-
allowed, you mean?
The one allowed in the
Yeah.
current zone?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
So this is actually accurate. This northern commercial industrial is this side.
On the right-hand side,
Right side.
okay,
This is Colby Road, and this is where the optimum is here. And then they're right on this side.
so it's the commercial district on the left side and industrial on the right side, essentially.
Here, right?
Okay, the dark yellow, maybe?
Well, this is commercial industrial.
Yeah,
This northern commercial.
okay. All right, so permitted uses in the northern commercial, where they're trying to put it. Banks, and this is on page 21, bank and branch offices. Establishments offering goods for sale, including dry goods, foods, hardware, clothing, apparel, retail commodities. Restaurants, not including fast food. Professional offices, healthcare facilities, personal services and offices, hotels, motels, indoor theaters, churches, public, private, or non-private recreational facilities, fraternal orders or membership clubs, schools, nurseries, and daycare centers, like, I would say like the same, the school part of St. Francis. Funeral homes, residential units constructed prior to March 1989, and home occupations within these units subject to the provision, which I gather is like the houses that are in this area. Mixed use, commercial residential as follows: a maximum of one residential unit may be developed in conjunction with the commercial use. Agricultural uses, utility structures of less than 200 square feet in area.
So, membership clubs,
Yeah,
like Sam's Club can move in there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a warehouse,
No, I don't
right?
think
No,
so.
I don't think so. I think the membership
Different kind of
clubs were that, yeah,
Like
like,
just, you know what I
I'm
mean?
thinking like a golf course.
Like what?
Like a golf
Like a
course.
golf course, okay.
But public, private, or non-private recreational facilities, fraternal orders, or membership clubs, you know, I'm thinking,
Okay, yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
a sports zone even would be
Yep.
probable in that area. But that too is a warehouse essentially, it's just not a storage warehouse.
Thanks for clarifying that, because I was gonna say, if you had a Sam's Club going there, you'd have tractor trailer trucks going in and out too, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Whereas in the commercial industrial.
Where's the copy paperwork? This one?
Right there, that's it.
It's gonna be
It's,
somewhere in there.
assembly, testing, repair, packaging of pre-manufactured components, devices, and equipment systems, which is kind of what you're doing. Warehouse and storage of non-explosive, non-toxic materials, wholesale business, Sam's Club. Research of testing laboratories, computer services, professional services, municipal uses, restaurants not including fast food, accessory uses, including not limited to retailing, personal, professional services, transportation terminals, churches, and associated parsonages, excavation, mining, and processing of aggregate materials, agricultural uses, utility structures of less than 200 square feet.
So I can't tell on this map, but the commercial industrial on the right side of 3A, does it extend down lower than where this property is on the other side of 3A?
This is just shy of, this is Albuquerque, so right there.
Yeah,
This is all,
The golf course is
It goes
in-
down into the golf course and whatnot.
the industrial zone does.
Yeah,
So it's actually further south.
so this is kind of where
when
they
it's
are
on
right
Albuquerque,
here.
not on 3A.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And then right there is the warehouse that now they've quoted from.
Romano's right there, right?
Yeah, and Romano's is right over here.
Okay.
This is where they talk about the optimum warehouse. Right across the street.
Right. So there's not a lot of room between where they're proposing this facility and the northern commercial industrial.
Yeah, it's relatively close.
We're talking several parcels of land that aren't already consumed by something.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit more about the need to take more, what'd you say, up to approximately 3 acres?
Yeah,
So you said that it's not, the lot isn't big enough.
right.
Why? For what?
Well, a lot of the parcel is wetlands, so. So, there's a lot of wetlands all along this boundary here, and then there's a lot of steep slopes going down to the river, so you really can't do a whole lot. You can't do anything in this.
Okay,
This whole steep
so you
slope
could,
section.
and if I'm not mistaken, the proposed building actually sits, you couldn't put that building there without taking that additional, getting that additional land, right?
It's a little too small, yeah, so see the dash line right there?
Yeah, it runs right through it.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
why we need to take that extra land.
Now, the red line was the approved Erickson construction, so clearly they were going after the same little chunk of land.
Exactly. Yeah, their building was almost identical in size to this building.
How much different, just by curiosity,
What's that?
how much different was the building size? Do you happen to know?
I do, yeah, I have the approved plans here.
I was just curious more than anything.
23 by 280.
You had the Erickson, yeah, the wetlands going in there, yeah. They crossed the wetlands, I remember the crossing down by the building, I do remember that one.
So theirs was 30,000, and this is
I don't know,
36.
it's another town.
6,000 more square feet?
Yep. And it's just a slight reconfiguration.
Yeah, Kevin's the one who defines all the abutters.
So this is the approved
You're a
plan.
member of the
So what
public.
you're
you have
telling
to
us is
say
we
that.
already approved the Erickson plan, and they didn't go through with it for one reason or other. Now you're basically proposing the same situation.
Very similar use, yeah.
Very
The
similar.
reason Erickson didn't need to come to the board is because they had a showroom in their office where they actually brought customers and they showed them all their materials. So that changed it from just warehousing and construction to it had that retail kind of component.
Changed the use, but I think they were here for the wetlands.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we had a wetland crossing.
That's why I don't remember the use.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, there's a small wetland crossing. It's an existing culvert. It's a farm road. We just need to widen it and upgrade the culvert.
It was 2016. I'm just curious to see.
Yeah, it was 2016. But yeah, so you can see the
Access.
use.
Vollmer
So-
variance? Dumont variance?
2016,
Yeah, in 2 cases.
unless it was 15.
So yeah, the red line illustrates this, this edge of pavement. And so we're keeping the same, what we're doing is just moving the building closer, so the building will be basically where the front of the parking lot was.
Yeah.
And then they just have more circulation for the trucks, because they have all the loadings off the side, on this side of the building.
Greg just brought up an interesting question to me, so I'll just state it for the record. He's wondering if we were required, or you were required, to notify abutters on the other side of the Merrimack River.
No.
Nobody asked you to, right?
So
What I'm not clear on is whether you are required to by
you are
law or
not,
not.
you're not required on the Merrimack River because it's a navigable river. Colby Brook, we own to the center line, so there are butters, but the navigable, our property line ends at the river. Then, so abutters are not, those aren't legal abutters across the river.
Okay, fair enough.
I did check that with some, who did I check that with? We've come across that multiple times.
Okay.
And, we haven't had to.
It was just Merrimack, so it doesn't matter.
Nice. I got friends
Um,
in Merrimack.
So I know the
Still can't find it, huh?
Be the same address, right? 476.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it
but
would be.
You'd have to go, where are you? I don't even know where you are.
I'm right on the, this is ZBA. It's
Should be able to
2016.
Go into every year, yeah, exactly.
That's what I've been doing.
Look at decisions.
Was it 2017?
I have the permit number, the ZBA permit number.
Do you have the case number?
Yeah, it was one.
Of this year?
It was 2017.
There you go.
Dash one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a special exception. It was 2017-1. So it was the very first one. I remember we joked.
Here, Erickson Construction, there it is.
Yeah, sorry, we started the design in
Special
2016, but
exception for the construction of 24-foot wide driveway.
And I do want to, I know the abutter was concerned with the proximity of the building to his property, or maybe other people were. It's about a quarter of a mile.
Actually, did we close to, public?
No, it's still open.
Okay.
You can ask questions anytime. Just let us know if you need to, and
So this distance from, from where the building will be to, the back of the house is probably over a quarter of a mile. It's
about a quarter of a mile.
It's at least 1,200 feet, this distance, because this is 600, so that's 600, probably 1,200, probably a quarter of a mile. And there's gonna be, doing the small tube is kind of in between, our building sits right here, so, kind of sitting between there. And then there's a wetland in here, so this is gonna be protected as well, so there will be, woods and screening.
I mean, I don't know if anybody on the board knows, these other businesses, in particular that delivery one, are they 7x24 operations, or? Did you say 7x24? Like Sundays, they could be
5x24.
taking deliveries?
I'm not 100% sure on that. Let me,
New England Spalts was closed.
Their business
They're always
hours,
closed, as far as I'm
being
concerned.
small
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I was wondering whether they're abandoned or not.
Pardon me?
That bread factory has deliveries early in the morning, I don't know.
Oh, they're still there?
They're like almost a snack trucks or something like
Oh.
that, come in there. But it's still, I don't think it's 24/7.
It's not big tractor trailers either.
No.
is it?
No.
It's more like box trucks.
Yeah.
And vans, right?
Trailers we see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's saying like 20 tractor trailers a day,
yeah, about 20 a day is what they told me.
40 small trucks or something,
20 to 40 small, yep.
traffic wise, because the way the highway is there, and it's like 45, 50, and you get one of those things stopping. Affect the traffic patterns down there, okay, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'll have to get a DOT driveway permit, so we'll have to resubmit. We'll have to provide a short traffic study to the planning board and to the DOT. So we haven't done that yet. It does generate a little bit more than Erickson's did. So we'll have, like I said, we'll have to amend that. But where it's spread out throughout the day, it's not like Dunkin' Donuts. It's not going to generate a ton of traffic. There's a certain number of employees that show up for their shift in the morning, and then the delivery trucks leave, spread out throughout the day. The tractor trailers are spread out throughout the day. I don't believe that there's a lot overnight. Let me.
Well, they'll be competing for road use with the dump trucks that are running up and down that road all day long anyways. Yeah, but they do stop somewhere around 6, 7 o'clock at night usually. Some of them are running late, but
Hey, Steve, it's Brian.
It seems to me that the business
Hey, how
hours would
Good.
often do they get
They want
trucks
the
overnight? Is
planning
it kind of
board
just
to do
a
something like
rare,
that. That's
like
planning
a
board,
sparse
not
thing
us.
that
And a truck every now and then.
once in a while?
I mean, if it's 24
Just don't
hours
like
a
the
day,
change in the mix of the land,
yeah, right.
you know? It's the tip of the iceberg.
that's
As soon as this happens,
in
Yep.
we sell.
in the northern,
Hold on.
Well, right now it is all
northern
commercial. It's just
commercial
not
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
warehouse commercial.
And then what about Sundays? Are they same thing? Are they 24 hours on Sundays?
Yeah.
So if it's not prohibited, so you wouldn't be able to store
Right.
chemicals or any type of flammable liquid in the.
Okay, basically they just have to leave it available in case the trucks show up when they show up because they're coming cross country, right?
starter food, all that other stuff.
Okay, and then one other question. Let's see. Hold on one second.
Colby Brook tells you.
No different than the
Do they
construction
leave
company
trucks
that's
running
done.
overnight at all? Like,
I'm not following you.
Yeah.
no.
It's
Okay,
not
so
like
it's
they're gonna have a mechanic shop in there or anything.
yeah. So there's if the guy's sleeping in his truck or something, they're
Yeah,
not
in
they're not
boxes,
leaving it
yeah.
running though.
Mhm, that's
Okay.
good.
All right, great. Thanks, Steve. I'll let you. All right. All right.
Love phones, huh?
Yeah. So he said that the late deliveries are rare. It's just that the trucks are coming from all over the country, and people get stuck in traffic and delays, and they just can't close the facility. They have to just leave it. I think most of them are scheduled during the day, he said, but it's just occasionally they just have to have that 24 access available. He said they do not leave like trucks sleeping and running there. It's just for they can park and leave the truck there, so they're not going to be leaving trucks running overnight.
Okay,
So, curious now, so the drivers start there and end there? Otherwise, how are they gonna get to wherever they gotta go from that parking lot? If they just arrive with a big truck.
Maybe Jeff,
Then they turn around and, yeah, they
They
had.
leave.
They leave, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, you know, they have these hubs all over the country where, you know, they get a bunch of parts to the one hub, and then from that one hub, they distribute to either another hub or right to here.
and they have a hub in Manchester like this.
Yeah, it's on Industrial Park, let me see, Industrial Park Drive. I believe it's similar. I believe it's a similar use. I didn't really, I didn't go to the site or anything.
Okay.
I can pull it up though.
So when Erickson came to get their variance, that variance applies then already here for this piece of property? That variance goes with the land, right?
Yes. Yeah,
As
yeah,
far as
it's already
the
approved.
drive, the road would, yeah, that's why he doesn't have to ask for special exception at this point.
Yeah, we're not changing the drive. We're going to leave the driveway exactly the same. So I think if we changed it, then we'd have to come back. But I think because we're leaving the road design exactly the same,
You just assume responsibility for that
Well,
variance.
yeah, you would, I mean, that is your only access to the site, so.
yeah. We do leave these property owners as part of the sale and the lot line adjustment. They do leave an emergency an easement so that, you know, whatever comes in here can be like a, you know, an emergency access route. So they could connect a road through there if they wanted to. It's more just for like fire, just so that there's multiple entrances, because, you know, I know they have thoughts to develop that, but it's just, you know.
When you say they, you mean the owners of the
The owners of
properties?
this property, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any real designs. I know they've been trying to market it as, you know, a big piece of land that can be developed, but, you know, because I know they have access here, they have access here that they
That's
can
right.
use. So they do want to leave, you know, the access through here. And I know you said the question, is it going to set a precedent if we, you know, if we do this, if we grant this variance? I don't think it will, because this is so tucked back in the corner that, you know, it still leaves this property available to be developed in those retail kind of.
My point was is that we're surrounding
Right.
commercial use property with, is now commercial industrial.
Yeah.
So that's gonna go commercial industrial,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
It could, yeah. I mean,
You know.
I think it's, I
So
just don't think
so
there's.
we're just changing the, whoever, you know, when Pat and Will defined the, when Pat and Will defined the zones in the town 100 million years ago, we're just negating whatever they come up with.
Well, I think,
You know?
It's evolving,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, because that was retail, right? The New England Small Tube, that was retail, right?
Yeah.
At one
Yes, it
point?
was.
Because I know it was developed as a retail plaza and it just,
24 foot.
okay.
Said,
Is that
Well,
right?
And I'm guessing that there's just not enough traffic on that street to support that kind of use, so.
Oh, and
they're
that's
gonna
right.
change the
Possible.
curb cut that we have
Yeah.
approved.
It's always in that
I
area,
think-
right?
So I know that, you know, this property's been for sale for a while. And it's, you know, this is what fits
Yeah.
because of the surrounding uses and the, you know, the traffic and the proximity to the airport connector road, all that. That's key for them, so.
Any other questions? Any other public questions, input?
One more on the criteria
Please.
presented, I think it was the third one. Land value, is that something that's increased land value in the area? Maintain the same, I don't remember how that was worded.
Is it not affected?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's, like I said, it's a quarter mile from those.
You can't really see it, you really can't even see it.
No, you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to hear it. Like I said, there's no noise generating, anything that's generating noise besides, you know, vehicles. There's no.
Hear it or see it, it seems like we can see that part of the field
Mhm.
where we live. So imagine we would see or hear a warehouse.
If this does proceed, we will have to go to the planning board, and we're happy to work to increase some, you know, some plantings on that side if it is a concern. I know I've been in that field and I haven't been able to see out of it because of all the trees, but I understand the concern and we're happy to work with them on, you know, planting some buffering in that area to help.
Think you would or
I
have?
think I have walked that field
Yeah.
with my dog.
Yeah, I know Kevin.
St. Francis.
Kevin said that he used to swim and there's a little pond down there. He said he used to swim in that pond when he was a kid.
Well, it's a field in the middle of nowhere, because it's almost totally surrounded by trees. So
Yeah.
you walk and walk and walk in the woods, and all of a sudden it opens up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a nice access down to the river there too.
Yeah.
There's a little gravel path that walks down, and it's kind of a flat, sandy kind of.
Oh, that's the ferry. That's the ancient ferry.
It's near Reed's Ferry, yeah.
No, behind St. Francis.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So what kind of lighting you expect to have to leave on at night, do you know? That whole parking lot's gonna have to be lit up?
Yeah. What we did before.
Thinking that, but I didn't want to bring that in. Thank you.
Yeah, previously we just did building mount, and they were just the downcast LED, wall packs. The pavement's a little bigger here, so we'll probably have to have poles on the other side, but, it has to be dark sky compatible, all downcast, shielded, so it doesn't spill off into the abutters. What we've been doing a lot lately is changing the lighting so that it's motion detecting, so it goes down. I assume that they'll probably do this. That way, if a truck does come in, they'll all just crank up a little bit. And just leave it at security levels overnight. I assume that's probably how they'd go here.
Interesting.
And it'll all be lower than the building. So the building will be between these residential uses and the parking area. So those light poles will all be lower than the building. So I don't think there's any chance it's going to spill
Oh, yeah.
out that way.
Yeah, it'll be lower than the backside.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll probably be 25-foot poles in the back.
Good for fish in the bank of the river, though. So, Mr. Luquette, you may want to kind of take some of these, some of this discussion or some notes, because a lot of this detail about lighting and stuff is what comes up during a planning board process. If he were to get there, let's say it was approved here, he goes to the planning board next. They have similar process, you're invited to show up, you can speak in favor, you can speak against, you can say, I would really love to see this, and, if you've got a good,
And I'm happy to.
good
I'm
need,
happy to.
I'm sure those are the kind of things that typically the developers try to work with
Yeah.
the abutters on.
Yeah, I gave him my card, and I'm happy to meet with you. We can meet on site, or you can come in my office and we can go over the plans, and we can try to tweak some things to make it work for everyone.
This is a metal building? Is it a metal or a brick building?
Need
Let
another-
me pull up the architecturals.
Might wanna hold on a sec till we get a recording in.
So
Might be okay. I have it.
Yeah, you're good? Oh, you got the extras, okay. I
it
didn't know
looks
where
it looks based on these like it is like a metal building. Building. Then there's a 4 feet concrete wall on the lower level. Yeah, it's not. They don't have any customers there, so it's set so far back. It's probably not
So
going to
like
be.
it's a flat roof.
It has a slight pitch to one side. It's
Oh, yeah, I see it, yep, okay.
2.5 feet over the
It's that way.
over the 120.
Oh, is that all optical illusion?
Yeah, I think it is. Let's see it.
Oh,
I don't see any pitch in that drawing.
It has an above grade slab there,
I'm sorry.
above grade slab, so any runoff would be just roof runoff.
I'm sorry.
All your roof runoff would go off into your parking lot?
Yeah, we'll collect it. I'm not sure if they do roof drains, scuppers, and all that. Yeah, the previous design we had, we collected it, we put it into underground infiltration. They're probably not going to sheet it off right into the parking lot and then let it run. They'll probably collect it, because otherwise it would, cause freezing and sanding nightmares. So it'll probably be collected with roof drains.
And so this pitches back away from the trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, pitches that way.
All right.
And that was preliminary. This was actually for a different site. So these will probably tweak. We may end up flipping it and pitching it towards the trucks, but collecting it. They're not going to just let it run down over the loading docks and everything.
Yeah,
So
right. I'm trying to visualize this, and
yeah,
So the planning board gets into traffic patterns and they can look at
Yep.
that kind of stuff.
yep, yeah. They have a excuse me. They have a requirement to submit a traffic study and all
I
that.
assume
So.
they can even put restrictions on the type of traffic or the hours of the traffic. Is it, to your point about Londonderry, you said has something about
So,
the trucks coming in?
what I was thinking is not necessarily the traffic, but, you know, let's face it, you know, industrial, commercial is a bit more aggressive in look than commercial, than residential,
Right.
right? It's pretty, not so pretty, ugly,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm just wondering what the plans are to help compensate for the fact that we're allowing a commercial, an industrial facility
Yeah.
in a non-industrial area.
Um,
How
well-
do you make it pretty so it doesn't look so bad?
I mean, there's things that they can do, and that's, you know, it's a great point. I'm not an architect.
Trees and rolling little mounds of
Oh, yeah.
grass and,
Yep.
and plants and flowers and
Yeah, they have
painted invisible.
they have pretty substantial landscaping requirements in the planning board's regs. So I can show you what the
I mean, those would be stipulations that we could add to the variance that, you know. that comes.
here's the old landscaping plan.
Yeah.
It's going to be something similar to that. That has the number of trees that were required and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is that it is surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
Already, so we have that existing buffer.
Right.
And
Well,
again,
except for the field in the back.
right, and that'll be, you know, when that's developed, you know, if it's developed concurrently, like a similar use, who knows, it might work together, or if it's a retail, commercial type use, then they'd probably end up putting some buffering when they
Well,
develop
no,
that.
I'm thinking you put buffering in because that's now your piece of property. You
Yeah.
wrap it around with trees.
Yeah, we do show some buffering wrapping around.
I mean, to make it just as invisible
Mhm.
as it is already where the trees are.
Do we want to deal with that here? Let the planning board deal with that.
Maybe sure, but that's again, those are stipulations that we can add to the back to say, you know, considerations for, you know, environment, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
proper wording to make it look pretty. You know, that was the first thing I thought of was, see, well, why didn't the Best Western go in there or something, you know?
I think that all comes out the planning board though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the stipulation I would put is just that, you know, it requires planning board approval.
It's already built in.
Yeah, I think you can make like a suggestion to the planning board, you know, please consider this
Again,
or
if
something.
we're allowing it to move this industrial thing
Right.
to live in a commercial space, well, how do we make it look less industrial?
Yep. That's totally fair.
I think that's something
Even
we
the
should do.
signage at the road would,
Huh?
even signage at the road, I mean, that's,
We've got our own regs on signage anyway, so they can
Yeah.
only do what they can do.
Yep.
Regs already exist on that.
Yep.
Okay. Motion to close? Public input?
Do we,
No.
do we hear the second one too,
Not
or are
yet,
we gonna
no.
do it?
We're gonna do that next.
Okay.
We're gonna go through, we're gonna vote on this.
And then we're gonna ask all the same
Yeah.
questions again on the next one.
Thanks.
Yep, well, we won't necessarily have to. Yeah. So do we have any more questions?
No questions?
All right,
Motion to close.
I have a motion to close. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from John and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, so public input is closed at this point. Any discussion? Further discussion?
So the first, so we're talking about the use, this is
Right.
a use
case, yeah.
case.
Do I have any motions on the request for warehouse?
I'll make a motion to allow the use variance.
So we have a motion to allow a warehouse/distribution facility where none is allowed under 801.00. That's a pretty simple motion, I guess. Do we have any seconded?
I'll second it.
Have a second? All those in favor to grant the variance to allow a warehouse/distribution facility, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I am.
All right, so the motion carries 4-1. You seconded it, though.
Yeah, well, figured I'd get it done.
All right, That's true. You can do that.
It's something that you don't agree with, right?
Yeah, you can. It just surprised me. So we have it carries 4-1. Now, just to clarify, okay, so that's one piece of his request, and that's been granted here. He's still got a second one, which is the building height that he wants to go forward with, I assume. You wanna go forward with the building height?
Yes,
now
please.
that we got the use?
Absolutely.
But you could appeal, anybody can appeal. They don't even have to be here to appeal. They can see this in video and so forth, so, if you would like, let's go ahead and move forward with, your second request for variance from LZO section 802.02, which is height. You're looking to allow up to 48 feet where 35 foot is allowed.
Great. So I'll just jump right into the 5 criteria, if that's okay.
I think so. We got a good
All right.
overview.
Great. One, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because we are requesting to allow a building of up to 48 feet to be constructed where there is a maximum of 35 feet allowed in the zone. The building will be well screened from the general public. Access will be off the Charles Bancroft Highway, which sits about 15 to 20 feet higher than the building pad elevation. The building will be set back over 600 feet from the Charles Bancroft Highway, and there are many trees and the abutting building, New England Small Tube, that further screen the building from the public view. There's a thick buffer to the river as well, which will prevent the building from being visible. Building heights in other zones, including some industrial zones, are allowed to be up to 56 feet in height.
Say that again?
Building heights in other zones.
In other zones.
Yep. So the
Like
other
the industrial
the other
zone,
industrial
which
zones.
you're not in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, I think that's because it's commercial zone. They want commercial. They don't want big commercial buildings. But like you said, the industrial buildings are on that scale.
Yeah.
2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the property will be designed to meet all other dimensional aspects of the zoning ordinance and will be designed to meet the town's site plan regulations and state of New Hampshire stormwater quality standards. Many other uses surrounding the property are also warehousing and distribution. Substantial justice is done because the building will be able to be constructed to provide the proper clear space necessary for the storage racks and maneuverability within the structure. Most of the uses in this area are similar warehousing/distribution, and heights of up to 56 feet are allowed in other zones in town. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished because the building will be developed with the proper site access, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management. The property will be well maintained and will generally enhance the surrounding properties. The building sits far off the Charles Bancroft Highway and will be screened from view from most abutting properties. And like I said, it's about a quarter mile from the closest residential. 5. The building will be screened from the general public for several. Let's see. The building will be screened from the general public for several reasons. The building will be set back from the Charles Bancroft Highway over 600 feet. There is a wooded area that will remain between the proposed building and the Charles Bancroft Highway. The Charles Bancroft Highway is 15 to 20 feet above the building platform, and the abutting building to the east will further screen it from view. Many of the abutting uses are warehousing distribution, so it fits in with the other uses in the area, and in other zones up to 56 feet, building heights are allowed. This property is not suited for retail or commercial use based on its distance set back from the Charles Bancroft Highway, so the proposed warehouse/distribution facility with heights over 35 feet is an ideal use for the property. The property use is a reasonable one. The warehouse and distribution facility is a reasonable use of the property given its accessibility to the highway, lot size, and surrounding properties with the same or similar use. Other zones allow up to 56 feet in building height. I think that's it.
You said up to approximately a quarter mile.
Mhm.
Are you talking about to the nearest house, property, or residential zone? Oh,
These properties.
those actual properties. Okay,
So we're quarter mile.
okay. Thank you. Yeah, they're in the commercial zone. Oh, they're,
So somebody could put a McDonald's right there.
No, they can't.
well, not
fast
a
food.
McDonald's.
They can't put McDonald's in there.
What,
A
no,
restaurant, but not a
no
fast
drive-throughs, right?
Yeah. So this was my, can I, are we open?
Yeah, please.
I drive that road every once in a while, and I just hate having to look across the river and see the Budweiser plant sticking out of the ground. I guess it concerns me that I might be able to see this from the road now that it's 48 feet.
Right.
And not 35 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's surrounded by trees. How tall are the trees?
They're pretty tall. They're probably 40 to 50 feet tall, if I had to guess.
So I'm just looking at the roof then, essentially. As it skims the top
It's
of the
well, it's
trees.
20. Like I said, it's about 20 feet lower than the Charles Bancroft Highway. So
Right.
if you're up on there, it's down in a hole. So, you know, if you're looking straight across,
Well, but I am now because
Yeah.
because you're adding a 48-foot building.
Right.
That I'm going to be. I was looking down
yeah,
at the base. Now you're built. So I'm looking right across your roof to see the Merrimack.
right. So you're saying from up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. This is all really thick right here, so you're not going to see it. You know, maybe in the winter when all the trees are down. I'm not sure what the spread of deciduous versus evergreens are, but
Yeah.
yeah, you might be able to see it like through all that thick woods. But it's really thick through here. This is very thick. This is wetlands. So
You'll see it from the residential.
Yeah, you'll see it from
Or
the
butter.
CBH houses
right
on the
but
road
this-
there.
So this is wetlands in here. So this is all remaining. This thick wooded buffer right here. And again, because it sits down 15 to 20 feet lower, it's quite a bit lower. And then with these trees, you know, as you get up, these trees get higher as the land gets higher. So these trees, I don't think it'll be visible.
I think there's a lot about this particular land that makes it unique. There's a lot about it.
It being
As he's
locked
pointing
to some
out.
degree.
Yeah, I mean,
And in the
tucking something out back there, it is kind of out of sight, out of mind. You know, granted, there's the additional height, but I
Till
mean, it's
winter
it's
comes.
back
Same
there.
domain, which you can see over here.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty tall. Yeah.
Maybe it's a St. Cobain Wheels facility I'm seeing sticking
Yeah,
out of the
that's
ground.
the one that you see.
Yeah, the bud plant's further down.
Yeah, that's right.
You smell the bud
'Cause I think
plant.
the bud plant is really pretty.
Yeah.
Rose-colored glasses.
There's no light pollution over there either.
Any other questions from the board on this one? I'll open it up to the public. Anybody from the public want to speak on the height? Okay. There's
If you
nothing.
think about it, I was just looking at here, I think that's how high it would be.
This is,
That's
this
what,
is-
20 feet?
Yeah,
this is
less than
25
20
feet wide,
Yeah.
maybe 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's gonna
At the
probably hold
most.
on 20
Yeah.
feet. Be about
Another 10, 12 feet on top of that, or
20.
Another 15 feet.
15 feet on top of that.
Yeah.
Not 20 feet, that's 6, 8, so that's 30.
Maybe.
Yeah, so another 15-ish.
It's about 24 feet. You can drive all it.
That's right.
All right, do I have any motions? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
I have a motion to close public input, seconded by John. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so public input's closed. Any further discussion on the matter? No
So
further.
if we, or not if, we just approved the placement of a warehouse, a commercial/industrial warehouse there, it kind of goes with it that you would allow them to have a warehouse there, which is typically somewhere between 40 and 50 feet high.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of funny that you wouldn't allow, you would allow a warehouse, but it can't be too high.
I mean, it's possible.
What if it was 72,
That's why he's
what if
here.
it was 72 feet
So
high?
obviously that would be
Yeah.
different. with-
I'm gonna put a storage facility there, 72 multiple floors.
That would be different.
But it's
Why?
not.
So,
It's high.
That's twice as high.
so Mr. Roberts was just here recently to do the warehousing across the street on Kobe Road.
Yeah.
Was there a height restriction there that we,
Yeah, they did, they weren't allowed to go too high on that one.
because they're
But
in
it
the
is a
other zone.
warehouse.
They're in the other zone.
We have to give them.
Were they in
Well,
what?
it's the same,
They got a
it's a
variance.
It's the
commercial
same zone.
zone.
It's the
Yeah.
same, it's 35 foot.
So
I
they
think we
were
gave them a variance.
they allowed to?
You can look.
We did.
Hold on,
That's
we can
this
look.
one right here.
Yeah, he wanted, we gave him what he wanted.
That's a warehouse right here.
Which one was that? That was Thoreau?
Yes. I think Robert
Oh,
Thoreau.
Yeah, Thoreau Properties,
Should be 802.02.
So there's a warehouse.
Oh, it wouldn't be listed, oh, maybe it is listed.
oh, two, there were a couple of them.
And their use is clearly visible from,
Yeah, that's
The highway.
really visible.
we're
Yeah.
unique because we're so far back that it's not gonna be visible.
They had a 80 to 100-foot warehouse, yours is much bigger than that. With a front and no indication of the height, which
Yeah, I didn't-
means they
I
were
didn't
gonna
think-
make it 35 foot.
Yeah, they were
I
still
don't think
limited
they
to
were
35 feet.
Height in there, but,
I don't recall.
No, they were gonna be close to the existing one, just a little higher.
yeah.
They would have had a variance, and they didn't get one for that.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is that it is possible to put a warehouse together for 35 feet.
Exactly.
Depending on what you're doing.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, they have the racking system, so they need the 40 feet
Yeah,
clear.
one of my hats was logistics when I was working.
There you go.
So, do I have a motion on the matter to allow or deny? Any motions? Somebody make a motion or I will. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the applicant's request to construct a warehouse building / distribution facility that would be up to 48 feet, which would mean a variance of 13 feet over the 35 foot that's allowed. So essentially, it's a variance for 13 feet height on the building. But we have a seconded? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So here, I think, is where we should, so we have, motion carries 4-1. We needed to put some sort of a stipulation if we want to, with a suggestion, I guess, to the planning board. How you want to draft that, I don't know. But it's essentially around consideration for,
Aesthetics.
yeah, there's some way of mitigating.
Ensure some buffering.
Yeah,
if
and sure
needed.
some
Supplement. Supplement buffering that's,
I was trying to think.
not
we gotta
adequate.
stick- So this would be not for number one, not for number two, but for number one, right?
Well, it can be either or.
You've got to set up a separate.
It's gonna have to be for either or, really. I mean, probably the use is more appropriate, but really it's both, right? What we're concerned
Yeah,
with
so-
is the use and the height, so.
Well, but you can't
You
really,
put it on.
you can't really make pretty the height. It either is or
Okay,
isn't.
all right, make it the use then. We'll put it on the use.
You know?
I get it. Okay. We'll take a couple of days to finish drafting the minutes and the actual notice of decision document, and that will
Perfect.
wind up going out one mailing for, both variances.
Perfect.
And then, as I said, there's 30 days. Obviously, you would have to wait.
Absolutely. Great.
Might as well, we'll have another stipulation in there, just to, requires planning board approval, but I'm sure that's fine.
Right.
So one of the things I noticed with the design on sound is you have the loading docks on the far side of the building, which is towards the river. So the truck noise and the backing up and all that stuff will be on the far side. So the building itself will actually buffer some of
Exactly.
that noise from residential's side.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
And then those trees on the riverside, we're not touching those, there's a couple of trees getting cut up, at the very top of the bank, but for the most part, that whole buffer to the river is, that 150-foot buffer is remaining, so that should mitigate any sound going across the river as well, so.
I've noted that as a stipulation, just the loading docks remain on the riverside of the structure to.
You can just say per plan, approved per plan if you want.
All right, well, thank you all very much, I really appreciate the time.
Special
Thank you.
consideration
Thank
by
you.
the planning board be to ensure the facility, a metal building, is constructed.
Sure. We'll include all the maps as exhibit 1. I don't know if we need, well, I guess we're gonna have to number every one, so if you want 1-1.
Nah, I don't, I just don't, I don't see a, impact. I don't see the impact. Was,
Thank you.
Do we have any
The
other
impact
business
on
for
it, I
tonight?
don't see
I
it.
don't think we have any other business unless, anybody else on the board has business they would like to bring up. I didn't have anything.
Motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
well, let me just make sure everybody, you're familiar with the, planning board's community design subcommittee. I sent an email letting you guys know that they were looking for a member of the zoning board. I raised my hand. I went to a couple of the meetings. I sent you guys an email letting you know, that I've withdrawn my participation. Well, my understanding is, my first impression, or assumption is probably a better word to use, was that they were really just looking to get members from every board, committee, et cetera, to help draft this particular section of the master plan. It's a new section that they're looking to incorporate, and that draft was gonna be based on a predefined vision of, you know, what the town should be like
Future
in
Litchfield.
5, 10, 15 years. Instead, what they're looking for is somebody to actually define that vision. And my problem is I can't see myself going public and saying I'm for or against certain things, and then sitting on a board like this and saying, and then making decisions. You know, I mean.
I thought you were gonna say, I can't see myself in this town in 10 or 15 years.
No, no, no. No, not at all, not at all. I mean, so I just, you know,
You're gonna outlive
I
us
thought they
all.
were basing everything on the surveys that have already been done, but I think they're
Yeah.
talking about doing new surveys
I
again.
think you're right in that, it kind of biases you a little bit, because we
Yeah, I
should be
agree.
unbiased on how we evaluate, you know,
Yeah,
these requests for variances and stuff. So I
so,
think I agree with you.
you know, that's my own personal perspective. I just felt I wasn't gonna be able to separate the two. Anybody else might have a different opinion, and you're welcome to join. They're looking for participation from anybody, including just the general public. So I'm just putting that out there.
I agree with
That's
you.
all I had. So, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Adjourn.
Let me read this
Oh,
first.
oh.
Special consideration by the planning board to ensure that the facility, a metal building, is constructed and landscaped in a fashion that preserves the existing wooded and green environment in which, as much as possible.
Nice.
Trees, bushes, grass, and foliage to separate the warehouse and its vehicles in a way that helps keep the facility hidden from neighboring properties
Nice.
is
Desirable?
desirable.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice.
That's really good, John.
And then loading docks must remain I got you. Must.
We could make them put a 30-foot high berm in there between the houses.
Sorry. I gotta burn, I gotta do
Okay,
it.
one more time.
Right, so-
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Are you gonna finish this then with all hands?
Yes.
You're gonna insert his text? Okay.
Yep, at 9:18,
It's actually 8:15.
Yeah.
8:15.
8:17.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot, yeah.
It is 8:21.
Okay,
That clock stopped a long
I
time.
have a motion to adjourn at 8:21. Second?
Second.
Second, and all those in favor say aye.